Hello there.
So I had recorded about an hour's worth of footage for this review, and right after that, my file decided to get corrupted. So I lost everything and had to start over. So yeah. How's your day going? So there are 3 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi that have been released so far, and we're now at the mid-season, so I wanted to go ahead and just take a moment, look back at some of these episodes, give my review and my take, because this is something that's really close to me as a diehard Star Wars fan. If I'm going to just give my overall take on the 3 episodes so far, I would say it's been a good series, and I say good very lightly. It's not terrible, but it's also not amazing, and I'd hate to throw around the word amazing, but as Star Wars fans who've been looking forward to this for a long time, this is really something that we wanted and needed to be amazing. And I know that Lucasfilm understands that, which is why they've made several comments about how they're really working to get this right. And when the expectation level is set as high as it is, a lot of Star Wars fans, and myself included, would be very, very upset if the final product is average or below average, and hopefully not terrible. So I would definitely say it's been a good series. There's been some ups, there's been some downs, but it's mostly just been You know, nothing going too crazy, nothing going too low. Just looking at the general premise of the TV show, I can go ahead and just tell you that this should have been a movie. I understand that Disney has fallen in love with their TV shows, but I don't think the story of Obi-Wan Kenobi post the Battle of Mustafar is something that should have been attached to a TV show at all. Because you got to think, TV shows are meant to have room for filler. They're meant to have extra episodes you can spend doing little side quests and stuff like that. When you're dealing with an emotionally packed story like Obi-Wan reuniting with Vader, you have no time to throw in a bunch of random side quests, i.e. a lot of second season of Mandalorian and a little bit of the first season, you know, a lot of fetch quests, and also the Bad Batch TV show. Just a lot of go here to do the thing, to find the person that has the thing that you need. I think that we get too much of that as it is with Marvel TV shows and with Disney TV shows. And when I heard that Obi-Wan's only 6 episodes, I was like, man, they really have to do something spectacular to justify only having 6 episodes. Hey guys, it's Editor Jonah here. And as I was editing this episode, I actually got a notification that Lucasfilm and Disney have greenlit a potential season 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, they didn't officially call it a season 2. It could be either a actual legit season 2, could be a movie, whatever it is, they're in the process of developing it, which is huge news and actually does change my perspective on the series as a whole, because now the expectations are huge. Because if you close this out with an emotional payoff with Obi-Wan versus Vader, what are you going to do next? Because then we just have that bridge from Obi-Wan fighting Vader this time to the period between these next 9 years where he becomes an old man, to where we see Alec Guinness's take on Obi-Wan in A New Hope. So don't know what they're going to do there. Maybe they do like an Obi-Wan staying on Tatooine protecting Luke from Sand People or something like that. Although in the comics, I know he duels with the Tusken Raiders just to kind of keep his skills up. But anyway, I just want to throw that in there because that is a new development and I want to make sure I covered that. Also, wanted to show off my my Obi-Wan Kenobi Funko Pop just because I think he's cool. And so far, I'd say the pacing has been okay. I was really surprised that the driving force behind this series so far has not been Vader and Obi-Wan, but it's been the Obi-Wan and Leia dynamic. Because at the end of the day, that's what got him to go off planet from Tatooine to go rescue her. Because it would take a lot. That's his one job, is to stay there and protect Luke. And at first I didn't like that because to me it kind of broke canon. But the more I thought about it and after rewatching it, I realized, you know what? In a way, Luke and Leia are basically the same. They are Padme's children. And so I don't blame him for doing this for Bail Organa. I love the child actress as Leia. Most child actors are really hard to cast, but I think they nailed it with her. I think she shows a lot of Leia's determination, her intelligence, her sarcasm, her wit. I think sometimes it could have been tuned back just a little bit. And usually when you deal with child actors in these large roles, they're already opening themselves up to a lot of criticism from the fans. Now, going into the villain perspective, I know the Inquisitors are kind of the beat characters, the side villains. We all know Vader's the main villain, and they literally cannot mess him up. You have the blueprint right in front of you. He's bitter, he's angry, he spent 10 years waiting to be reunited with Obi-Wan so that he can dole out justice for what Obi-Wan did to him when he bested him on Mustafar. And I was expecting a very angry, a very heartless Vader, which I'm glad that we got, that I'll cover later on. But in the first 2 episodes, I was a little confused as to who the Inquisitors were and what their purpose was, because everybody knows that the Inquisitors are Jedi killing machines. But to see a couple of the Inquisitors show a lot of restraint, except for Reva, who is basically the main Inquisitor that we're focusing on, they seemed very restrained, very unaggressive, if that's even a word. And Reva was the only one that's like, what are we doing? Let's hunt these fools down and let's kill them. So that seemed very out of pocket for all the other Inquisitors. As for the Grand Inquisitor, I know his makeup and his look was something that was pretty controversial, but to me, I'm kind of apathetic at this point. I do think he just looks like a giant hard-boiled egg that had some paint thrown on his face, but I mean, hey, spoiler alert, he dies in episode 2 pretty quickly, so that was interesting. But going into episode 1 with Obi-Wan's character, I really like that they really focused on his desire to put the Jedi life behind him and stay focused on watching out for Luke and just working his 9 to 5, which I'm sure we could all relate with, just clocking in, clocking out, keeping a low profile. Ewan McGregor comes back with a vengeance, and I love seeing him fully commit to portraying Obi-Wan again. I love that it shows his battle back and forth with Joel Edgerton. Is it Edgerton? I think it's Edgerton, who plays a younger Owen Lars, and I love their dynamic of they both want what's best for Luke, they just have different perspectives of what they want him to be. I definitely appreciated that they butted heads a lot, because it goes to show in episode 4 why Owen Lars wants Luke to have nothing to do with Ben. Now, as for the Leia arc, as I mentioned before, I think it was good. I think it was a good way to get him off planet, and that's a good transition over to episode 2. Actually, before I even go into episode 2, I just gotta say this real quick about what I consider to be a terrifying villain. I know I'm jumping all over the place, just bear with me. But to me personally, I don't find villains who yell and scream a lot to be intimidating. This is not at all directly pointed at Reva and her performance by, I think her name is Moses Ingram, I believe. This is not a shot at her personally at all. I just don't find villains who scream loudly to be intimidating, i.e. Kylo Ren. So you got Kylo Ren, you got Reva, the First Order General Hux from the sequel trilogy. When you're yelling at me and telling me commands, usually it's harder for me to get with that, because you've got more soft-spoken villains like Grand Moff Tarkin or Palpatine in the original trilogy and the prequels, who speaks a little bit more softly but with much more malicious intent. When you've got Reva screaming at Owen Lars, "Tell me where the Jedi is!" I can't. It's not. It doesn't do it for me, because to me, I like it when you're able to convey emotions as opposed to just thinking that intimidation equals being loud. Just a little nitpick from me. But yeah, so that's what drives the plot going into episode 2, which I believe is the stronger episode compared to episode 1. You see Obi-Wan go off world. He's recovered his and Anakin's lightsabers. He is still cut off from the Force, so he's really trying to keep a low profile. Leia has been captured by the bounty hunters, which features one of the worst chases in Star Wars history, done twice, one in the first episode, one in the second episode, where Leia is running away and these grown men are chasing her, and she's ducking under tree branches, and they're looking at a single branch in front of them going, "Oh man, I wish I could catch up to her, but I'm stuck." Terrible writing, terrible choreography, completely took me out of the moment. But that being said, I appreciate the fact that they didn't spend too much time on the bounty hunters, because I found them to be really corny. They were really just to lure Obi-Wan to whichever planet that was that they landed on. It was kind of like that gangster planet. I forgot the name, but it is what it is. And I like that once Obi-Wan is able to kind of get his feet set, he starts asking around, trying to do some investigative work to track her down. We see a little bit of hand-to-hand combat as he's, trying to fight some low-level scum to get to her. Loved that cameo by Tamora Morrison as the homeless clone trooper. I really appreciate that they really focused on what happens to the clones after the fall of the Jedi. In Order 66, because at the end of the day, I know from extended lore, Palpatine switched from clones to stormtroopers because they're cheaper. And seeing what happens to these clone troopers when they're kicked to the side really kind of, in a way, draws a parallel to the veterans in the real world that have served and kind of get pushed to the wayside once the fight is over. Loved seeing that connection. And all it took was 5 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds. And that was a awesome scene for me, and that shows me that there is some good stuff buried in this show. But Obi-Wan is able to find Leia. They're on the run. Turns out Reva set it up to lure Obi-Wan. We still don't quite know why she wants to hunt Obi-Wan. We don't know if she wants to get him to impress Vader, if she has a personal vendetta from back when she was potentially a Jedi youngling back in Order 66. Still don't know that yet. And that's why, just kind of a general observation I have with this whole show is I am not going to criticize this show too fiercely until the end, because we're treating TV shows these days like they're movies. We're judging them based on one single episode. And yes, I completely agree that there are bad episodes out there. Pretty much all of Book of Boba Fett was just one bad episode after another. But I still firmly believe, after going through all of the Disney Plus shows, you have to be able to get through all of them to find out what that story arc is. And then once you get to the end, if it's still not satisfying, then from then on out, you're free to make your final criticism. But yeah, so she being Reva is currently bickering with the other Inquisitors, specifically I think it was the fifth brother, and they really don't see eye to eye. I definitely get a dysfunctional relationship vibe from them when it comes to two co-workers battling for supremacy. Still didn't find the Grand Inquisitor to be that intimidating. Definitely seemed like he's a guy who just kind of stands around, and actually, as the actor who portrayed him said in an interview, he just likes the sound of his own voice, which I believe that's pretty convincing. But at the end of the day, Obi-Wan's able to shuffle Leia out of the prison she's been held in, tries to go undercover, has to deal with her doing classic 10-year-old things of talking too much and asking too many questions, which, granted, this is a life or death situation, so if I was Leia, I'd try to keep my mouth shut and my head down, but that's just me. Then we get the chase scene where they release the bounty on Obi-Wan and it becomes available for all bounty hunters to track him down. We get that fight scene on the rooftops where Reva does the very interesting parkour, which, again, to me, I just kind of rolled my eyes a little bit because it's really unnecessary, but if they're going to put it in there, whatever. I liked seeing the actor from Eternals. I forgot his name, but he plays the phony Jedi, the one who's faking it for money. I appreciate the fact that they didn't make him actual scum when it comes to his morals. I like the fact that he's just a guy trying to make a buck, who helps Obi-Wan in the end, which was really nice. It was nice to see someone who still is trying to help the rebellion, even though he is still kind of a piece of crap. So Reva eventually tracks down the imposter Jedi, probes his mind, which could have been really helpful in previous episodes with other characters, but I mean, there's a lot of plot points in all of Star Wars that could have been justified by doing something differently. So hindsight's 2020. And she tracks Obi-Wan down to the landing platform where they're about to take off, where she mocks him, she taunts him. And this is when you can start to really see the emotion in Ewan McGregor's performance. Not that he wasn't doing a great job before, but you start to see the realization set in where he realizes, oh my gosh, Anakin's alive. And Reva mentions that to him. She goes, oh, you didn't know? Oh, Anakin's alive. And as much as I didn't want that to come from Reva, I wanted it to come from potentially something like maybe him not even knowing about Vader until seeing him face to face to have a better emotional payoff. I know in the comics, he literally finds out that Anakin's Vader while he's sitting at a bar, and he overhears it from somebody. So I guess this is cooler. So I mean, again, on the positive side, I'll take it. But still, just kind of slowly kind of dropped the reaction level from me for what I wanted Obi-Wan to react to. But you can tell that he is shaken. He is all of a sudden having PTSD, Vietnam flashbacks, going all the way to when he dispatched Anakin and left him for dead. And the Grand Inquisitor shows up in his super weird way, and he's talking to Reva going, oh, no, that's not your bait to have. You know, this is basically implying this is Vader's prey that you're hunting. And she decides to just randomly kill him. And from what I've seen from dozens of Star Wars movies and shows, usually Force-sensitive people can sense when someone else is trying to stab them. So it's kind of odd that Grand Inquisitor didn't see that coming when he's supposed to be the most fearsome out of all of them. Because most of these Inquisitors, back at it again, these Inquisitors are mostly past Jedi. You know, people who have been trained in the Force. And so you would think that he would sense that, you know, and realize, oh, you know, she is about to stab me. But he doesn't, and he gets stabbed. So I know in Rebels he survives, and he's still a big presence in that. So I don't think they would do something stupid like retconning that. He's definitely alive. I just don't know how they're going to bring him back. I know his actual species has two stomachs, so she probably just stabbed him in one. And the good old-fashioned back-to-tank's going to put him right back in shape. But I guess that's her way of kind of taking what's hers. She definitely believes that she has the right to lead the Inquisitors, and I definitely can say that her motive in that area is definitely clearly defined, and I appreciate that. We don't get that enough in a lot of the Star Wars media these days, where you have a set mission and you are dead set focused on it. And they end that episode perfectly with Obi-Wan sitting in the shuttle on their way to escape the planet, and you see his eyes kind of go glossy as he finally taps into the Force, which he had to briefly use to rescue Leia earlier, which was a beautiful scene as well. You can tell he's 10 years rusty, so he's still getting reconnected to the Force, and he feels Anakin, and all he says is, "Anakin," and then you see Anakin's eyes open in the bacta tank as Darth Vader. And that was awesome, gave me chills, which segues perfectly into episode 3, which I believe to be the best one so far. And normally shows start to fizzle out around the 3rd or 4th episode, so I'm hoping that this is just a continuous uptick from here. I'm surprised that they brought in Vader so quickly, but I'm glad that they did. He's obviously ready to officially hunt down Obi-Wan now that he knows where he is. I'm kind of indifferent about the scene where Obi-Wan and Leia finally land on the planet that they needed to be at to be rescued. And they have to go through the shenanigans of getting basically a ride from a random civilian who we find out later is an Imperial supporter, which leads to them also picking up stormtroopers to ride along with them. I thought that was good. I thought that developed a lot more chemistry between Obi-Wan and Leia. Definitely was super tense. And to end it with the shootout where they finally discover who he is and Obi-Wan starts blasting a bunch of stormtroopers, I appreciate they didn't use his lightsaber yet. And I told my wife that because for me, the lightsaber is definitely a sacred weapon for a Jedi, and for him to not have to turn it on in 10 years means a lot. So I like that he's just using his blaster. And then you saw one stormtrooper get freaking cut in half. That was awesome. Shoot, we don't see that enough in Star Wars. Let's get more decapitations, man. We got lasers all over the place. Sorry, I was talking way too much about that. Anyway, rather quickly, Reva and the Inquisitors basically reveal the location to Darth Vader. Darth Vader books it to that planet pretty quickly too. It's pretty interesting. Obi-Wan and Leia discover the rebel hideout where former Jedi have been smuggling Force-sensitive kids and other supporters of the rebellion. We get a Quinlan Vos reference, which was really cool. That's a Clone Wars character who also made an appearance in Episode 1. He's kind of like a gray Jedi who embraced both the dark and the light side, and I hope we get to see him later on, but I'm keeping my expectations low. And then we get the epic entrance of Darth Vader on the planet. And the one thing I'm super disappointed so far about in this show is we don't get enough Star Wars music. And if you know what I mean, then you know what I mean. In the trailer, we got Duel of the Fates, Battle of the Heroes. These are epic soundtracks, and we didn't get so much as a little peek when Darth Vader stepped out to basically goat Obi-Wan into coming out of hiding. Maybe they'll surprise us at the end, but I mean, I guess we'll see. And we see Darth Vader mow through a couple of people in the village because he knows. Vader knows Obi-Wan. He's not stupid. He knows that's what's going to take to bring him out of hiding is to create some carnage. And you see him choking a resident, and then he snaps a little kid's neck. And again, I'm surprised Disney would show something like that, but it also is good to see in a really messed up way because that is who Vader is. He is irredeemable. He is evil. This is pure hatred coming from him. And I appreciate the fact that they've acknowledged the fact this is a Vader who doesn't care about the right thing. I'm glad they didn't sneak that in there just yet. There's still a lot more development he has to go through, both in this show and in the original trilogy. So yeah, he snaps that kid's neck and he's starting to massacre these people one by one. And then you see Obi-Wan finally reveal himself and go on the run, which the first time Obi-Wan uses his lightsaber is as basically a glow stick so he can see in the dark. Definitely wish it could have been a little more dramatic, but again, now I'm just, grasping at straws. I definitely liked the idea of him being hunted by Vader. I think Vader's slowly starting to figure out, okay, this isn't the Obi-Wan I remember. This isn't the Obi-Wan who had decades of training as a Jedi. He's an old man. He's washed up. He hasn't tapped into the Force. And a lot of people hated the fact that this whole fight scene with Obi-Wan and Vader was disappointing. But again, I go back to my original point of you gotta wait until everything comes out, every single episode. Because this was, I don't believe, meant to be the final battle. This is just Vader testing the waters. This is him, after spending 10 years savoring the day where he can finally put Obi-Wan through the pain and suffering he went through. He finally gets his chance, and it's a huge letdown. He is toying with him. I mean, he could, yes. Okay, you're right. Darth Vader could defeat Obi-Wan in probably 2 strikes of his lightsaber and then just reach out with the Force and just choke him. That's all you got to do. Boom. Show over. But that's not what he wants. He is wanting Obi-Wan to feel the massive pain that he went through. And that scene where finally he gets the best of Obi-Wan and chokes him and pushes him away, ignites the fire with his lightsaber, and he picks up Obi-Wan with the Force and drags him through the fire. Chef's kiss. Mwah. A+. I love that because he is really licking his chops and savoring that moment. And people are still hating on the fact that he didn't fully commit or didn't try to cross over the fire when it got reignited from the rebel supporter who reactivated the fire. But I'm still holding strong to the fact that he wants Obi-Wan to go. You know, he can track him down again. Now that Obi-Wan's reconnected himself to the Force, Darth Vader will be able to sense his presence, but he doesn't want to kill him just yet, which is why he told the stormtroopers to go get him, not shoot him, but go get him and bring him to him. And so the stormtroopers weren't about to pass through the fire. And even though Vader could, I really don't think he wanted to, because at the end of the day, he wants Obi-Wan to be as strong as possible. And I do believe that since in episode 4 of the original trilogy, Darth Vader said,
"When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master."
I just really feel like that's where they're leading to, where Obi-Wan is going to face defeat in the next couple episodes, potentially reach out to Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson, which, I hope that happens. And I really hope that these last couple episodes leading into the finale are not filler episodes. I believe that would tank the entire show if they decide to have one episode, even one episode of random filler, like Leia getting captured by Reva and they're just kind of having a dialogue in a interrogation room or something. There's no room for that. I'm okay if we go back to focusing on Reva, but I don't want this to turn into a show that pivots over to Reva trying to take over the Inquisitors, because that's a B-level plot that would have not made it into an actual movie if they made an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. At least that's what I think. The script would have to have been way tighter. And I think these Disney Plus shows are giving the writers too much freedom, basically, to have 6 hours worth of footage, and then they can just write a bunch of random things in the middle. And then it leads to half-baked story arcs that we're starting to see more and more. I really miss the days when we got, 3 or 4 years in between Star Wars projects. But at the end of the day, that's not the world we live in right now. And that's the direction Lucasfilm has chosen. But anyway, my rant over. I just want to give you guys my thoughts about the first 3 episodes. I'm hopefully optimistic of what's to come in the future for the last 3 episodes. But you guys tell me in the comments what you guys think. Let me know what you think about the first 3 episodes. Did you like them? Did you not like them? At the end of the day, that's the best part, is it's literally your own opinion. Nobody has a wrong one unless you're one of those racist people who took to Instagram to bully Moses Ingram over her skin color. I know that there are racist fans out there, just like there are racist fans in any type of fandom, but I firmly believe criticism is important. Don't get me wrong, criticism is very important. We would not have things like the Sonic movie being redone if it weren't for fans who jumped online and basically said, what kind of crap are you feeding us? Take this back and run it back and give us something better. But I believe there is a fine line between criticism and judging someone based off their skin color. That is wrong. I don't care who you are, but unfortunately, because of those fans who have made those terrible comments, now it's going to be really hard to direct criticism. I personally was not a huge fan of Reva. Like I said before, I don't like big shouty villains who are super over dramatic. But at the end of the day, that's what we got. And so I'm learning to understand Reva's arc in the way that it was intended. But anyone who just says that she's a terrible actress because of her skin color or anything other than her performance and how the writers wrote her, because at the end of the day, it's all she is. She's literally reciting the lines written for her and interpreting them in her own way. That's all it is. So that being said, I literally went on a second rant, but that's really how I feel about it. I believe criticism should be encouraged as long as it's constructive, and it's okay to question things. It's okay to ask why, but at the end of the day, be respectful about it. I'm gonna go ahead and drop some cards in here for you guys. If you really like this video, I'd encourage you to comment down below, leave a like. I really wanna hear what you guys think of this new format. This is a totally new experience for me, so I would love to hear what you guys think. Click the icon over here if you wanna subscribe to our channel. I should have our previous video also attached. Would love for you guys to check out the channel. I've really enjoyed being able to talk with you guys about Star Wars for, going on over 20 minutes now. Don't know what it's gonna look like after I edit it, but I'm glad you guys were able to kind of sit down with me and just hear my thoughts. I really appreciate you guys. Have a great day.